I was out one night, late at night, returning home from a dinner party with my family. On my way home, it took me past a local cemetery and I decided to stop and visit a grave of a recently deceased friend of mine. It was rather eerie to walk past all those stones and trees that seemed suspicious, but I wished to pay my respects. If I hadn't, then I've only kept driving that night, gotten home and buried myself under the covers, but I didn't. I was a little drunk from the party and waltzing through a graveyard late at night registered as a fine idea in my mind. I eventually found my way to his grave, stumbling in the dark, upon finding that flat chunk of rock that bluntly announced my friend's departure. I was surprised to find a disc among some flowers. The disc didn't have a professional label. It was the kind that you would buy with the hundreds, the kind you use to burn files on. It was a plain square case with no writing on the clear plastic, only words that were scribbled onto the CD's white sticker. Using my phone to illuminate the disc, I read the words scrawled there hastily and unceremonially in black marker, Dead Fred. What really perplexed me was the handwriting. It was clearly my friend's. He used to own a video rental store along with hundreds of old VHS tapes that couldn't be found elsewhere. He had written the receipts by hand and seemed to match up with the disc's line. In addition, after his recent death, his note had been found, covered in gibberish scribbled in the same messy script. I always wondered who had left this here. Hadn't seen anyone with it at the funeral. Tears were starting to burn my eyes. I missed my friend so much, and this disc must have been something very important to him if it were to be on his grave like this. However, why he hadn't told me about it? Well, he told me everything to each other, and it wasn't right of him to keep secrets to himself and to carry on to the grave. How dare he leave me out? In a fit of drunken rage, I swatted my tears from my eyes and stormed off to the cemetery with the disc in hand. Only later, when I arrived home and it was already popping the disc into my computer, did I realize what I had done? I had taken something off my closet, my friend's grave, something I know nothing about. It wasn't right. This was much worse than him keeping secrets from me. Bitterly, I went to eject the disc before what could you do? Open the disc with iTunes, view files, etc. The menu popped up when unexpectedly a video opened, and this surprised me for two reasons. One, I assumed the disc either had audio, image, or text files, which I hadn't expected there to be a video. And two, it hadn't asked me if I wanted to open the video and so program, so it just started playing. It was an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog, one of my friend's favorite cartoon shows. I hadn't really been into the show myself. I found it too disturbing and only watched the first season or so. When the title Dead Fred appeared murkily on the screen, I didn't know that what was something wrong. I had seen the original Freaky Fred episode with my friend once, and I assumed this was just another episode starring the deranged barber. Disgusted myself for taking the disc, I went to exit the video and found my cursor was frozen. The keys render no assistance either, so I reluctantly turned up the volume and my speakers and started to watch the video. It started off like Freaky Fred, with Fred on the bus and Muriel spreading about the yellow quilt on her bed. Fred wasn't reciting his poem. In fact, he was just apparently had no audio to go with the video. I thought it must have been like the original episode, with the title swooped down, until I saw Courage. The small dog was looking out the window, glaring down at Fred with a mixture of fear and malice in his eyes. Courage turned from the window and looked angrily into the distance. Then he started to have flashbacks. All that she had put up with, all the terror, all the mistreatment, it then just came crashing down. He began crying in his frantic, animated style as he ran downstairs to the basement. He started rummaging through a trunk, throwing out various objects, an ugly mask, a shrunken head, and other objects according to what the Shadow's signature disturbing style. He then pulled out a cartoon double-barreled shotgun, tears streaming down his face. Lunging upstairs as he stood at the aim of the doorway, a tiny paw on the huge trigger, the adventurous background music started playing. However, the video was still with no sound effects. Muriel ran excitedly downstairs. I guess the doorbell had rung. I couldn't hear anything, and swung it open to get her nephew. There stood Fred, with his wide grin and messy hair, just looking as freaky as ever. He opened his mouth to speak and down and saw Courage standing there, trembling, the shotgun aimed at it. And a shocked, frightened look overcame Fred before the shot rang for the house. By my house, which I mean my house, the shot was only a thing that sounded none other than the music, and it was terrifying. I had expected a bang or to pop out the gun, but no. Fred stumbled backwards, and the red cherry blood started pouring out and spraying in the house. He fell to the floor dead with Muriel started sobbing. Courage looked horrified at what had happened and ran upstairs to the bathroom. He was soon locked in as what happens to be a normal episode. At this point I was a little shocked with this disturbing, even for Courage. For the next 2 minutes, Courage sat on the floor or sobbing, fur splattered with blood. Then he heard words that ran through my speakers, long and low. "Hello, my new friend." Courage then looked up around and saw nothing. "My name is Fred." Courage stood up and spun around again, and he went to the window, trying to find the source of the sound. Muriel and Eustace could be seen dragging the body to Eustace's truck, with a trail of blood streaming out behind it. Muriel was still crying. "Those words you hear are in your head." Courage backs away from the window, looking at the shotgun behind him, and flashbacks return. All the name-calling, all the times that he had risked his life to receive no reward, all the horrible things he had seen, all the things Eustace has done to him, and even he had tried so hard. I said, "My name is Fred." Courage picked up the cartoon weapon, balancing the barrel on the windowsill, aiming down right at Eustace. "And you have been very..." Courage pulled the trigger, and in a fraction of a second, he had killed Eustace. He dropped it on the body of Fred and is falling. "Naughty." Muriel then screamed mutely, and there was no bang of the shot this time. Either the audio was still off, or except for the creepy poem. As Courage turned the gun, I yanked the computer reader's plug out of the wall. I stood up and paced around the room fearfully, disturbed by my friends and messed up stuff. I had only said the word naughty several times. "Hello, my new friend." I jumped and I must have had the speakers. At first I unplugged the computer, although the video should have gone off, but that made no sense. I went back off to turn my speakers off when I saw that they were off. "My name is Fred." I had turned them off and then first heard the gunshot, long before I started hearing the poem. "The words you hear are in your head." They were in my head, and they have been ever since I watched that video. I can't take it anymore. I'm going insane. Have gone insane, I suppose, or maybe I should have just gone bad. It's too much. I'm going now. I had to tell someone, so I'm telling you. Goodbye, my friend, for I'll be dead. I'm putting thing down for my head. I am glad you've read this what I said, but now I must do something bad. And that, my little pretties, was Dead Fred, a Courage the Cowardly Dog Lost episode creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story. Now, before I get to the actual review, I want to say that I remember back in 2017, I know the Shadow Reader have narrated this story at that time, and at first I had no idea about this story, about where I could find it, until I actually found I found at least a link to it, because someone linked me the story, because I wanted to find out, where I can read this story, because of how good it was. And then I ended up finding the story, and to be honest, I really do enjoy how good this story is. Well, it's kind of good. Well, I don't know how old this story is, but it kind of had a good concept and all that. But, I mean, it's a little cliched, seeing, just a bit cliche, finding the disc, in someone's on someone's grave, and, the blood, the gore. Like, I mean, there wasn't really a lot, but the thing I would have to say is that Courage killing, Eustace and Fred, oh my god, it's just really messed up. I'm not a fan of these type of stories, but yet again, the story was not terrible, but it could have been better. That's me pointing something out. I really wasn't a fan of this story, but at the same time, I kind of like this one, and I'm being completely and utterly honest with this story. I really kind of remembered this one, although I wasn't really sure because it has been, quite a while since I last sat there and did this story. So I decided to sit there and, take a look at this story. And this story was definitely something. I'm definitely saying that it's definitely something. It's a pretty good story with, the grammar, the sentence structuring, all that. But I'm not a fan of, the fact that this story did have some cliches involved in it. If you get what I mean, you probably would understand, my reasoning for that. Like, I mean, the story is not terrible or anything. No, I still find this story to be enjoyable. But to be honest, of its own self, the story just kind of doesn't make, a whole lot of sense in this. I really don't know what it is, but for some reason, I don't really, was like a fan of these type of stories. I really just don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but yet again, I'm not really sure. The story was not terrible. I'm not gonna lie. It was not a terrible story. I actually found this one to be, quite an interesting concept. But, with all due sincerity, this story is just, well, to be honest, I mean, this story is not perfect. I'm not gonna lie. But I would have to say the story could have had somewhat, a better concept, but the story was not bad, I'm not gonna lie, but it does need improvement. Like, I mean, the grammar was pretty good and all that, and same with the sentence structuring. I mean, if the cliches were kind of taken out, maybe that would have made it work or something. But, the title Dead Fred is kind of cliched because we got, like, Dead Bart or something. I'm not saying it's a ripoff of Dead Bart. No, it's not. But I would have to say the story does need to be maybe just a little bit more explaining, perhaps. Maybe if there was a little more explanation to, why this episode was made or something, that way that story would be, believable. But it would also make more sense to sit there and do that. I'm not sitting here and, saying that it's terrible. No, it's not terrible at all. I would have to say that this story, I do wish that this story did have, a pretty good, more concept with it. Maybe that might be just me, but I really don't know. But anyways, this story is not terrible, but I do wish this story did seem to be, I do wish this story could have been, I don't know, maybe more explanation to what happened, but yet again, I really don't know. But anyways, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and say this. I can't really, put my finger on if I do like it or not. I'm kind of mixed on this one when it came to this story. So, I would have to sit here and say this, that this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regarding these creepypastas, and this is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be I'm going to give this one a 7 out of 10. It's not a terrible story. It's not terrible at all. It had a pretty good, interesting, concept, but it is a bit cliched, which is kind of one of the reasons why I kind of honestly, it brought down a little bit, is because of that. But anyways, it's just not, it's not terrible or anything, but yet again, that's just that. So with that being the case, that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, and that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.